Bob was a human janitor on the massive alien space station Elydris. Every day he walked through endless hallways, sweeping floors, emptying trash, and polishing metal walls that gleamed under strange lights. The station was enormous, bigger than any city on Earth. Towers of alien machines hummed, and glowing panels blinked in patterns that Bob could never fully understand. Most aliens didn't pay attention to him. They had long arms, extra eyes, and voices that sounded like music and thunder at the same time. They were powerful and smart, and they liked to talk about important things while looking down at him. Bob didn't mind. He liked his work. He liked the quiet hum of the station when most aliens were busy. He liked the smell of metal and oil mixed with the soft smell of food from the dining halls. Some aliens laughed at him. "That human," they said. "He cleans floors while we make discoveries that change the galaxy." Bob just smiled. He had learned long ago that it was better to stay out of trouble. Each morning he started at the docking bay. Gigantic ships came and went, carrying creatures from other planets. Bob made sure the floor was spotless so the alien crews wouldn't slip or trip. He loved watching the ships. Some were smooth and silver, others jagged and black. Some moved silently like ghosts, while others roared like thunderstorms. Bob imagined one day flying in them, visiting faraway worlds. But he knew his job was important too. A clean station meant fewer accidents, and that kept everyone safe. Bob had a small routine that gave him comfort. First he cleaned the docking bay. Then he moved to the corridors that connected laboratories, libraries, and the residential areas. He made sure every corner was free of dust. He loved how dust sparkled in the light when he polished the floors. After the corridors, he went to the living quarters, emptying waste bins and making sure no food scraps were left behind. Aliens didn't like cleaning their own rooms. They had servants, machines, and robots for almost everything. But Bob was different. He did not mind work that others thought was small or boring. He found peace in it. Sometimes, Bob listened to the conversations of the aliens. They spoke about advanced technologies, wars long past, or discoveries in distant galaxies. They laughed and argued, often pointing at him as if he were invisible. "Why does a human even exist here?" one alien asked once. Another replied, "He only sweeps floors. He is nothing." Bob kept sweeping. He thought about what the alien had said. Maybe he was nothing to them. But Bob didn't feel small. He felt strong in a different way. He had patience, a sense of humor, and a quiet courage. Small things mattered to him. Cleaning, helping, noticing details. One day Bob found a small, broken panel in a hallway. The aliens ignored it because it was not important for their research. But Bob fixed it carefully, connecting wires and tightening screws. When the lights blinked back to life, a scientist nearby noticed. "How did you do that?" she asked, surprised. Bob shrugged. "Just noticed it was broken," he said. The scientist frowned. "Humans, strange creatures. They see things we overlook." Bob smiled to himself. Maybe being small and unnoticed had its advantages. Bob also liked the plants. There were small gardens on the station, glowing with artificial sunlight. He watered them, pruned the leaves, and talked to them quietly. He imagined the plants listening, and sometimes he swore he could hear a faint reply in the rustle of their leaves. The aliens thought it was silly. "Talking to plants is for children," they said. Bob ignored them. He felt that small acts of care were powerful in their own way. He had no family on the station. Earth was far away, and most humans didn't travel to these parts of space. Yet Bob never felt lonely. He had a routine, a purpose, and little moments that made life feel full. The laughter of aliens, the hum of machines, the glow of plants, the shine of polished floors, all these things were part of his small, ordinary life. But Bob sometimes wondered what it would be like if he could do more than sweep floors. Could a human like him matter in a place ruled by beings far older and smarter? He had dreams, small dreams. Maybe one day he would find out. For now, he kept working, smiling quietly to himself as he cleaned. He didn't know it yet, but the universe was about to notice Bob in ways that no one had ever imagined. One evening, Bob was finishing his usual rounds when he noticed a door slightly open in a hallway he rarely visited. It was a door that humans were not supposed to enter. The sign above it glowed faintly with alien symbols, warning restricted area, ancient vault. Bob hesitated. Most humans would have turned away. Most aliens would have ignored it entirely or gone in with guards. But something about the door made him curious. The faint hum of energy from inside the room called to him. Bob pushed the door carefully. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside he saw a large chamber filled with rows of ancient crowns. Each crown floated in its own glass case, glowing with colors that shifted like flames and ice. Some crowns were tall and jagged, others delicate and simple. They looked alive. The room smelled faintly of metal, dust, and a strange sweet aroma that Bob couldn't name. He walked slowly, careful not to touch anything at first. Aliens had told stories about this vault. It was older than any star chart, older than any recorded history. The crowns were said to hold the power of civilizations long gone. They were never meant to be touched by ordinary beings. Bob's heart beat faster. He had never imagined being this close to something so important. Yet he felt calm. He wasn't afraid. He just wanted to clean the dust that covered one of the smaller crowns. He reached out with a cloth and gently wiped it. The moment his fingers brushed the crown, it lifted slightly in the air. Bob froze. Then one by one the other crowns began to move. They hovered and followed him as he walked slowly through the chamber. Bob blinked. "Oh, hello," he said quietly, unsure what to do. The crowns seemed to respond to him. They moved gently as if recognizing him. Suddenly the lights in the vault shifted. A soft, golden glow surrounded Bob. He could hear whispers, though no mouth moved. The voices spoke in a language he did not understand. But he felt their meaning. The crowns were acknowledging him. The power that had slept for centuries had chosen him. Bob could not believe it. "I'm just a janitor," he said softly. But the crowns ignored his words. They floated around him like loyal guardians. Outside the vault, alarms began to ring. Aliens monitoring the security systems saw something impossible. Cameras showed the crowns rising from their cases, following a human. Messages flashed across consoles. Unauthorized interaction. Human in the crown vault. Alien officers rushed toward the room. Some laughed in disbelief. "That human," one shouted. "He is not supposed to touch the crowns." Others murmured nervously, unsure what to do. Bob continued walking through the vault. He reached for another crown, this one larger and older. When his hands brushed it, the crown rose and gently landed on his head. It was surprisingly light. The other crowns aligned themselves around him, forming a circle. Bob felt warmth and energy surge through him. It was not frightening. It was comforting. He realized that he had been chosen for something important, even if he didn't understand what. The first alien arrived at the vault. It was tall, with silver skin and 4 eyes. "Stop," it shouted. "You are violating all rules of the station." Bob looked up and shrugged. "I'm just cleaning," he said honestly. The alien hesitated. There was something in Bob's calm eyes, something different. The crowns pulsed with light, almost as if they were protecting him. The alien took a step back, uncertain. Word spread quickly. More aliens gathered outside the vault, some fearful, some angry, some curious. They had never seen anything like this. A human, small and ordinary, standing in the middle of the crown vault, holding and wearing relics of unimaginable power. Many whispered, "Impossible. A human cannot interact with these." Yet everyone saw it with their own eyes. The crowns chose Bob. Bob did not understand why. He only knew that the crowns were no longer just objects. They responded to him. He could feel the history and knowledge within them, the stories of lost civilizations, the wisdom of the ages. He felt honored and nervous at the same time. "I'm just doing my job," he muttered. But the crowns seemed to insist otherwise. That night, when the vault settled, the crowns returned to their places, but they remained subtly glowing. Bob left the room quietly, still unsure what had happened. He walked down the empty hallways, brushing floors and wiping panels, thinking about the strange experience. For the first time, he realized that even an ordinary human like him could be part of something extraordinary. The universe had noticed him in a way that no one else had. And Bob had no idea what would come next. The next morning, news of the vault incident spread like wildfire through the station. Aliens from all corners of Elydris came to see it for themselves. The human janitor touched the crowns, they whispered, eyes wide. Some laughed at first. "He's just a janitor. How could a human possibly do this?" Others grew nervous. No one had ever seen a human interact with the ancient relics before. Bob, as usual, went quietly about his work, sweeping floors and cleaning panels, though now the eyes of dozens followed him wherever he went. Word reached the Council of Elders, the oldest and most powerful beings on the station. They were tall, with glowing eyes and shimmering skin that changed colors with their moods. They summoned Bob to appear before them. Bob felt nervous as he walked into the council chamber. The room was enormous, with high ceilings and floors that reflected light like water. Dozens of elders sat in a semicircle, their eyes fixed on him. "Human," one elder said, voice deep like rolling thunder, "explain yourself. Why are you in the crown vault?" Bob swallowed. I was cleaning," he said simply. Some dust had gathered on one of the crowns. I only wanted to wipe it off. The elders stared at him. Just cleaning? Another elder asked. And yet the crowns responded to you. They moved, they chose you. This has never happened in 1,000 years. Bob shrugged. I didn't choose them. I didn't even know it was special. I just touched them to clean. Silence fell over the chamber. The elders exchanged glances. No one had ever met a human who could touch the ancient crowns. Many species had tried over the centuries, using the most intelligent minds, the strongest psionics, and the most advanced technology. None had succeeded. Yet here was a human, small and ordinary, and the crowns obeyed him. Bob's simple honesty and quiet courage had awakened something that the aliens could not explain. The eldest of the council, a being named Viler, spoke slowly. Humans are unpredictable, Viler said. They do not follow our logic. They act with honesty, curiosity, and kindness. Perhaps that is why the crowns respond to one of them. The crowns choose not for power or wealth, but for the heart within. Bob blinked. He had never thought about being chosen or having a heart that mattered. He only tried to do his work well, to be careful and kind in small ways. Word of Bob's unusual connection to the crowns spread quickly among the alien staff. Some were skeptical. It is impossible, they said. Humans are small. Weak. They cannot hold the knowledge of these relics. Others watched quietly, noticing how the crowns pulsed gently when Bob entered a room, almost as if recognizing him. Even the station's robots paused when he walked by, their lights flickering in a soft, respectful pattern. Over the next few days, the crowns began to reveal their secrets. When Bob walked past, holograms of ancient civilizations flickered briefly in the air, showing alien worlds long destroyed, inventions lost to time, and battles fought centuries ago. Bob could sense a faint connection to the knowledge, though he did not understand it fully. He realized the crowns were showing him their history, as if trusting him to remember it, to protect it. Other humans in the station were amazed. There were very few of them, mostly engineers or researchers. They came to watch Bob quietly, whispering, "How is he doing this?" Bob just smiled and continued sweeping floors, never boasting, never drawing attention to himself. He felt that the crowns had chosen him not for fame, but because he approached things with care, honesty, and patience. Some aliens began to follow him, curious and cautious. They watched how he moved through the station, how he cleaned, how he never hurried or panicked. They noticed how he treated even the smallest creatures kindly, how he noticed dust, cracks, or loose panels that no one else saw. Slowly, the aliens began to respect him, not because of the crowns but because of the way he lived, quietly and thoughtfully. Bob himself was still puzzled. He did not feel powerful. He did not understand why the crowns chose him. But he began to feel a new sense of responsibility. The crowns were ancient, their knowledge vast and dangerous. If he could protect them, even in small ways, he realized he could do something important for the station. He was still a janitor, but he was a janitor with a purpose unlike any other human before him. By the end of the week, the station had changed. Aliens who had laughed at Bob before now gave him space, bowed slightly when he passed, or paused their work to watch him clean. The crowns no longer seemed just relics. They seemed alive, waiting for him. And Bob, walking quietly through the corridors, sweeping floors, thought to himself, maybe humans are small but we can still matter. Bob's life had changed, though he still walked the same corridors and swept the same floors. The aliens no longer laughed at him, but not all of them respected him either. Some powerful beings were unhappy. They had always desired the crowns for themselves, believing that whoever controlled them could rule the station and perhaps even influence the galaxy. When they saw a small human janitor chosen by the crowns, they grew angry and suspicious. One morning, while Bob was polishing a corridor near the vault, a group of tall aliens blocked his path. Their skin shimmered in shades of blue and silver, and their eyes glowed with power. "Human," the tallest said, "the crowns belong to the worthy. We are worthy. Why do they obey you?" Bob looked at them calmly. "I didn't choose them," he said. "They chose me. I'm just cleaning like I always do." The aliens scoffed. "Cleaning does not make you worthy. We demand a test. Prove that you can handle the crowns or we take them ourselves." Bob felt a flicker of fear, but he stayed calm. He had never wanted the crowns. He only wanted to do his job and stay out of trouble. Yet he realized that if he did not face this challenge, the crowns might be taken from him. The first challenge came quickly. The aliens led Bob to a chamber filled with dangerous machines designed to test strength and intelligence. Some machines were traps, others required logic that even some of the station's top scientists struggled to solve. Bob observed them carefully. He did not rush. He moved slowly, noticing patterns, reading signs, and using his hands and mind in simple but clever ways. One by one he passed the test. The aliens watched in disbelief. "How can a human solve these puzzles?" one whispered. "It is impossible." Bob shrugged. "I just looked carefully. I didn't overthink." Some of the elders began to whisper among themselves. Maybe this human was not ordinary after all. Maybe there was something different in the way humans saw the world, something the crowns recognized. Next came the second challenge. The aliens sent Bob into a simulation of a collapsing starship. He had to rescue holographic creatures and secure vital data while avoiding falling debris. Most would panic, but Bob stayed focused. He worked step by step, thinking about each move, saving the creatures and stabilizing the data. The simulation ended. Bob was safe, and the aliens had no choice but to admit he had succeeded. During these challenges, Bob formed unexpected allies. A few young aliens watched him closely. They were curious, thoughtful, and tired of the arrogance of the powerful ones. They helped him quietly, offering hints or support when needed, without taking credit. Bob appreciated their kindness. He never demanded help. He just noticed and accepted it. Over time, he realized that even in a place full of pride and power, simple loyalty and friendship mattered more than anything. The final challenge was the hardest. The aliens brought Bob back to the crown vault and asked him to choose which crown he would claim for himself. The crowns floated silently, waiting. Bob looked at them and shook his head. "I do not want to claim any of them," he said. "I only want to protect them. They are too important to belong to one person." The aliens gasped. None had ever refused the crowns before. They expected greed, ambition, or desire, not humility and care. At that moment, the crowns glowed brighter than ever. One by one they rose into the air and aligned around Bob. The elders watched in awe. The crowns were not responding to power, wealth, or strength. They were responding to his heart. Bob's kindness, his patience, his simple courage, they were the qualities that made him worthy. The aliens realized that humans had something different, something rare, that even the most advanced beings lacked. A combination of humility, cleverness, and compassion. From that day, Bob gained respect and a quiet influence on the station. The aliens who had tried to challenge him now watched him carefully, some in fear, some in admiration. The allies he had gained became his friends. They helped him understand the crowns, protect them, and navigate the station without arrogance or violence. Bob continued his work, sweeping floors, wiping dust, and observing carefully, but now he carried the weight of trust, ancient knowledge, and responsibility. He did not feel powerful, but he understood that true strength was not about force or intelligence alone. It was about patience, courage, and doing the right thing even when no one was watching. The crowns had chosen him, not because he was the strongest or smartest, but because he was human. And Bob, small, ordinary, and humble, had proven that sometimes the smallest beings could face the greatest challenges, and win. Bob walked through the corridors of Elydris, sweeping the floors as he always did. The station had changed around him. Aliens who had once laughed at him now paused when he passed. Some bowed slightly, others watched quietly, unsure how a human could hold such influence. Bob did not feel proud. He had not sought power. He only wanted to do his work carefully and honestly. But he knew something had changed. The crowns had chosen him and the universe had noticed. The vault had become a place of respect. Aliens no longer approached it carelessly. The crowns glowed softly whenever Bob entered, as if greeting an old friend. He understood that he had a duty, not to use the crowns for personal gain, but to protect them, to preserve the history and knowledge within. Each crown held stories older than the oldest star. Each pulsed with wisdom and secrets of civilizations long gone. Bob felt honored to be their guardian, even though he still swept the floors and wiped the walls. Visitors came to see him now. Young aliens, curious and humble, asked him to teach them how he could interact with the crowns. Older aliens came too, cautiously respectful, seeking his advice. Bob always smiled. "I don't do anything special," he said. "I just pay attention and I try to do what is right." The crowns respond to that, not to me personally. Yet everyone saw the truth. Humans had a quality that no alien could fully replicate, a combination of care, courage, and simple honesty. Some aliens still doubted him. They whispered in corners, saying that a human janitor could not truly hold the trust of the ancient relics. Bob ignored them. He had faced challenges, solved impossible puzzles, and stayed calm in simulations of disaster. He had seen the crowns respond not to force, not to cleverness alone, but to his heart. That truth gave him confidence, even though he remained humble. Over time, Bob made a small team of allies. They were young aliens who admired his way of thinking and a few older ones who had learned to respect patience and careful observation. Together they studied the vault, cataloged the crowns and made small discoveries. Sometimes holograms of old civilizations would flicker and reveal secrets to Bob first. He shared the knowledge cautiously, making sure it was used wisely. The station began to feel safer, more orderly, and more alive under his quiet guidance. Bob never demanded respect. He did not seek titles or recognition. He still carried his janitor tools, swept the same floors and wiped the same panels. But the aliens had learned to see him differently. He was no longer just Bob. He had become a symbol, a reminder that greatness often comes in small, ordinary forms. He had shown that intelligence and bravery were not only in those with power, but also in those who cared, who paid attention, and who acted with honesty. One day a young alien asked Bob, "How do you know what to do? You are not like us. You do not have our strength or our centuries of knowledge." Bob smiled. "I only try to see clearly, to help where I can, and to be careful. That is all." The alien nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is why the crowns chose you." Bob laughed softly. "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe they just like clean floors." The crowns continued to glow softly, their light a gentle reminder of the trust they had placed in him. Bob never touched them for power. He touched them for care. He maintained them, cleaned them, and protected them. Other humans might have rushed to claim glory, but Bob understood that true respect came from responsibility, not ambition. The station had learned the same lesson. Even the most powerful aliens now recognized that human qualities, small, subtle, and often overlooked, could be stronger than centuries of experience and knowledge. In the evenings, Bob walked the quiet corridors, sometimes humming softly as he swept. The hum of machines, the glow of the lights, and the gentle shimmer of the crowns gave him a strange sense of peace. He was still small and ordinary in many ways, but he carried something extraordinary. The crowns, the ancient knowledge, and the respect of the station were now linked to him, not because he sought them, but because he deserved them in ways no one could fully explain. Bob had proven that even a janitor could matter. That even a human could stand among the greatest beings of the galaxy, not through force or cunning but through patience, care, and courage. His story spread quietly across the station. Aliens no longer mocked humans. They began to wonder what else humans might do, what other simple, honest acts could shape the galaxy. And so Bob continued his ordinary life. He swept, he cleaned, he polished. But now, every sweep, every careful motion, carried the weight of centuries of history, the trust of ancient civilizations, and the quiet power of a human heart that had been chosen by the crowns. And the station, with all its alien inhabitants, would never forget the janitor who proved that greatness often hides in the smallest and most unexpected places.